Welcome back to SwitchCorner. Today it's volume 13 of our Switch Gems series. You'll find this one here every single Tuesday, or at least until I run out of games to talk about. Here, as always, we're going to be breaking down 5 games for you, some hidden gems, some, not so much. I will here though tell you what you can expect, why I like them, and maybe why you should consider adding them to that library of yours, or at least, that wish list for that next potential sale. So with that, look, hit subscribe if you love the Switch as much as we all do here, join our growing family, and let's get started. So following last week's video where I talked about the Talos principle of 3D first-person puzzle adventure, I wanted to talk about another one I love just as much, and that is the Turing Test. This released on other consoles some years back now before it finally made its way to the Switch at the beginning part of 2020. For the most part, I gotta say it has translated well. Now I will put out there at this point, I am a sci-fi nerd. I love anything even slightly science fiction, so this was always going to be a day one purchase for me. Here though, you'll find yourself taking on the role of Ava Turing, an engineer for the International Space Agency, and you find yourself basically on a mission to uncover the mystery of a crew that disappeared on Jupiter's moon Europa. This all takes place so after you awake from cryosleep, you're basically told they're in danger and now it is up to you. What proceeds gameplay wise, a puzzle adventure that challenges the concepts of human morality as you're piecing together this mystery. I enjoyed this one because it gives you just enough to feel like you're advancing, while giving you that breathing room in its story that you're going to kind of keep on changing your theory and almost second guessing yourself over the crew's fate and whereabouts. That's a lot of fun when it doesn't just tell you, the answer, instead kind of just like pointing you in the right direction of that next clue. The production quality then here as well, you can't fault. Visuals, they look great on the Switch. The performance for the most part is solid, averages around the 45 frames per second mark. It does fluctuate, I will put that out there, but then the puzzles, they are entertaining and creative. It is not a difficult game, nor is it the longest. You'll wrap things up in around 6 hours. But yeah, I just kind of enjoyed the world. If you like sci-fi, you like a decent story, or even you just like 3D exploration with a whole lot of puzzles, then this may very well be for you. Even some of the themes here, they for sure just stole directly from Portal, and what a game to, admire. Alright, so Hallies of the Demons, from the realistic, at least visually, to the completely out there. This is an action shooter that throws pretty much challenge at you from the very beginning and never lets up. If you are wondering, yes, it is brutally difficult, that is for sure. Taking on the role of a demon, there's very little story to it. All the idea is simply enter arenas and clear wave upon wave of enemies before progressing to, that next location or that eventual boss encounter. These boss encounters, absolutely huge. Combining elements so a 2D platforming, bullet hell, and then a fast-paced set of moves, it's an absolute adrenaline rush as the heart rate will spike as you kind of just holding your breath throughout. I love this one because it just feels so well balanced. The movement pixel accurate, the invincibility dash, an incredibly badass feeling tool that it's easy to use but it takes some time and skill to master. And then finally, of course, the gunplay, and it is about as good as it gets. Then you mix in the in-game currency and things to collect. This will allow you to upgrade your weapons, and yeah, this is addictive stuff right here. I think the best thing about this one though with Hallies of the Demons, it's the gameplay modes, because roguelikes ain't for everybody as you head back to the beginning after every death. So here they also include a campaign which has a more traditional path of battling your way through 5 worlds. To wrap things up then, yes, the graphics are simple but it looks absolutely stunning, especially in handheld. The frame rate is just buttery smooth, and the synthwave soundtrack here, amazing, and you can actually check it out here on YouTube. I'd suggest a track called Bloodstained. I feel like that track, not only in name but in its style, just sums up the brutal nature of this one perfectly. Well worth a look though if you like a challenge and earning that progression, because this one will push you to your limits. Alright, so Mantis Burn Racing, I'm always on the search for that elusive next micro machines, and the search honestly continues, but one of the closest I found yet has to be Mantis Burn Racing. This released way back in 2017 and was one of the very first reviews I actually did on this very channel. That's nearly 3 years later, and I still find myself heading back now. This top-down racer, it just gets so much right, and mainly that means on the content front, there's a lot of reason to go back. A 11-season single-player career that's made up of 150 events over 13 event types, split-screen races for up to 4 players, online play, if you can find anyone of course, all the DLC, battle modes where you'll come equipped with weapons, even upgrades that you can apply to your vehicle of choice. Well, I do wish you had a few more tracks included. I can't fault the amount of time I've been stuck into this one and it keeps me coming back. That really comes down to two things honestly. The controls are incredible and you will feel the difference by track type, say you're on like desert or ice. Then two, the AI is smart, and while I might not be able to find a huge amount of people playing online, they always put up a damn good fight without resorting to, you know, cheap tactics or too much like noticeable like catch-up mechanics. This one for me, it takes the crown for best top-down racer on the Switch, and while I do hunt for that next Micro Machine still, this is a great holdover. I just hope one day maybe we see a sequel to this because they've got a great base here. It's a fantastic game and I'd love to see what they do next. This is one of my favourite go-tos when I play handheld for those, you know, like 5-minute sessions here and there. Project Warlock now, I jumped into this one a little late, honestly. I got sucked up into the hype surrounding Ion Fury, and with good reason. It's an incredible game and it's one I actually spoke about in a previous episode. Gotta be honest here though, I think I prefer this one just slightly more. If Ion Fury was, you know, Duke Nukem, this is very much Doom. Channeling the retro you really though need to like, you know, that pixelated style, flat enemies and all. But I promise you, if you do or you can get over it, what awaits you is an incredibly visceral experience where you'll have ammo and guns aplenty and you will basically be making anything in sight explode. With 38 weapons, a ton of enemies to encounter and 60 levels over 5 different settings, it's a game that understands, you know, the importance of pacing. So if it's not introducing you to a new enemy on that next turn to say hello to your gun, it's going to be putting you in an entirely new location, from medieval castles to Antarctica. Then to modernize things just, you know, a little bit, it introduces upgrades and perks that we can equip to our one-man army. It even has multiple difficulty levels. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons to keep you coming back, and it actually lasts a solid like 10 hours. The three things that might put people off with this one, it's 30 frames per second, that's 60. There's no multiplayer and there's no gyro controls, but none of these, I'll say now, they didn't stop me from having an absolute blast with it. The final game of the week then, and a relatively recent like pickup for me, Kona, that I actually featured this in a deals video some time back. Picked this up because I love Firewatch and this kind of looked like a snow-covered version of it. Now that we have the Long Dark though, this kind of feels like a cross between the two, and if you're being compared to two games, that is not a bad scorecard right there. The first thing that's gonna, you know, come up is Walking Simulator, and while it definitely takes elements from the genre, there is so much more to this, so please do not let that put you off basically. Not only is there, yes, walking and exploration, I mean, like most games have that anyway, but I want to point out there's a whole lot of like investigation and survival to a certain extent, even some slight horror, or like, horror is probably the wrong word, more like suspense. Walking Simulator as a term is for me one of the worst things to happen to games because it instantly puts so many people off, and so many games get lumped into the category that should absolutely not be there. A game can be slower paced while involving more gameplay than the name suggests, and that is very much the case here. Taking place in a remote part of northern Canada in 1970, you'll be taking on the role of Detective Cole Falbert. Initially, you're just like a simple private eye, you're investigating some vandalism that happened at like this rich dude's manor. Quickly though, things escalate, a storm like engulfs the area, and yeah, all hell breaks loose. Where this game just nails it though, it's the world, the tension the game builds. It is slow burning, but it's enough to keep you engaged. The writing is solid and the location an absolute pleasure to explore, especially I gotta say thanks to all the touches that reflect, you know, that 1970s setting. To top it all off as well, audio design captures all of this perfectly. I'd suggest with this one watch a full review first if you think you may like it. As I say, it is a slow burner, but what a ride it is. Just know a few frame rate stumbles here and there, but nothing that damages the experience. And that's it, another 5 down. Have you played any of these before, or will you be adding any to your wish list? As always then, like a shout out to the patrons of the channel who are just going above and beyond to support SwitchCorner. Helps more than you know, so thank you all so much. If you do want to check that out for yourself, it is linked in the video description down below. Then with that luck, hit subscribe if you love the Switch as much as we all do here. Join our growing family, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.